I'd like to introduce you to a concept that I have been doing in my life and that I teach other people to do in their lives too. And this concept is called kind limits. Now, Anne Schaaf, she is a feminist writer, and she talks about these Lincoln logs, this dualistic thinking that we kind of get sucked into regarding society, this all or nothing thinking. And that really limits our options. So, kind limits I have found in my life to really broaden my options and really deepen my communication with the people in my life, help them understand the decisions I'm making, and have them know that I have taken them into consideration. Okay, so let's talk about kind limits, and this is just going to be an overview, not to get into the real gritty parts of things, but to give you just some insight as to what this can look like in life, or what are the pieces that go into it. So the first aspect of it is to take unspoken expectations and move them into spoken expectations, taking that unknown into the known. I think so many people speak in vague terms these days, and I'm not a mind reader. I don't know about you, but I don't know what other people are thinking until I get some clarification. So let's move the unspoken into the spoken. We can't possibly succeed with unspoken expectations. We can succeed with spoken expectations. What is it that we are needing to do? What is the end goal here? What are we trying to achieve? This really starts to clarify things for people. If you have a deadline because you're going to be ordering catering for something, let people know. I need to know by Friday at 5 o'clock. This is why I need to know. It takes what? 2 extra seconds. It's just a little extra blurb of why you need to know, because it validates why you're asking. You're not being pushy. You're just saying why, because that's good for them to know and it's good for you. That's the whole concept. Kind for you, kind for me. It's kind for everyone who's involved, because we all can win-win. It's a yes, yes, right? Okay, so then another concept is just that. How does this work for you? When you're presented with an invitation, does this work for you? Does this not work for you? Or you're asked to do something. How does this really work? If it doesn't work for you, that's okay, but understand why. Clarify what doesn't work for you. Who else is involved? What other factors are kind of going in? It doesn't mean that you have to share your whole story with everybody. It just means giving a little bit of texture to a decision that you're making. And that's what makes it kind to you too, because you're sharing what feels comfortable for you. You don't have to share everything, but enough to have the other person, which is the other part, kindness to them, that you've thought about them, that you're taking their thoughts into consideration. And that's the part that they need to know too. I think a lot of times people think that we're making decisions in this little vacuum, right? Society says, be others oriented, be altruistic. And then when things are tough, take care of you, do your self-care. But let me tell you something, those can be in direct conflict. And these kind limits can really help balance that. So here we go. Another thing that I'd like you to think about is your audience. Who is it that you're talking to? What kind of information do they value? What types of things in the world do they value? Where do you kind of clash? Where do you not really meet? And I think when we look and see and know who we're talking to, then we can change our messaging a little bit to help them understand what it is that's going on. The last thing that I'd like to talk to you about regarding kind limits is being consistent. Because when you start actually implementing kind limits in your life, what happens is that the people who don't have limits or boundaries or don't have an understanding of what that is, it kind of like upsets the apple cart, and they kind of push against it. But I think when we have consistency and we act consistent with what it is that we're trying to achieve, then they know that they can count on us really doing what we say we're going to do, which is, again, moving it from the unspoken to the spoken. I said I was going to do this, and then I did it. Imagine that. I said that I was going to order catering at 6 o'clock on Friday, and I included you in the numbers because you let me know by 5, like I asked. Or I didn't include you in those numbers because you didn't get back to me in time, so I'm not expecting you to be there. And I think that all works out just fine. It's very interesting how there's times in our lives that we are going to disappoint people with the decisions we make. When we understand why we're doing it, why we're doing it this way, this time, this year, why we're coming to the conclusions that we're coming to, it helps that moving it from that very first tenet, moving it from the unspoken to the spoken, communicating what's going on instead of guessing, removing that unknown. We do that. That in itself, opening those lines of communication, is going to truly, truly improve how people interact together. So that's your introduction to kind limits. I hope that helps you. I'm going to give you an exercise here where I want you to look and see what are some different scenarios, and you can kind of plug in different options for yourself to kind of see how it would work through for something in your life. So print out that handout and do the exercise as different things kind of come up in your life and see if it works for you. All right. See you in the next lesson. Bye-bye.